Hello and welcome to this lesson on introductions and conclusions. Today our learning objectives are we're going to define introductions and conclusions. What do we mean by these terms? We're going to look at some effective examples of introduction and conclusion paragraphs, and we're also going to circle back to some key concepts from earlier in the course, such as the modes of explanation and the card method. So let's take a minute to review the concepts behind your introduction and conclusion paragraph. You want to think of your introduction and conclusion paragraph as an aerial view, a big picture snapshot of the entire scope of your essay. Remember that in this big picture, because it's an aerial view, we're not going to get into too much detail. Our goal here is to forecast what is to come for our reader. When you think about your reader, you want to imagine that your reader is blindfolded. Your reader has no idea what your essay is going to be about. Therefore, it is very important to prepare your reader for what's to come by effectively forecasting the essential components of your essay. So you can forecast what's ahead by using a thesis statement, which is the last sentence in your introduction paragraph, and your topic sentences, which are typically the first sentence in your body paragraphs, and they capture the main idea, a general statement about what the paragraph is about, and they link the main idea of that particular body paragraph to the overall big picture of the essay. So thesis statements and topic sentences, they are not for you, they're for your reader because they allow your reader to follow your essay more easily. Here's a visual reminder for all the visual learners in the class. Think of your body paragraphs as a zoomed in view. So within a single body paragraph, you're moving in for a close-up shot. You're focusing on a single point within the big picture, and your goal in these body paragraphs is to offer clear details and examples as proof. So again, you really want to get into some specificity in your body paragraphs. That's why you should think of them as a zoomed in snapshot somewhere within your big picture. I want to circle back to an earlier concept just to remind you that the modes of explanation are a great way to get more specific. So you can use the modes of explanation to dive deeper. You really want to go below the surface and give your readers an immersive experience, and try to get creative, try to be unique within your body paragraphs. Some of the modes of explanation you might in fact use in your introduction paragraph, but primarily you're going to be relying on the modes of explanation in your body paragraphs because that's the place where you're really getting into some specificity. At this point in the lesson, I'd like you to engage a little bit more, so I want you to pull out a piece of notebook paper and a pencil and jot down your response to this question. What are some elements of an effective introduction paragraph? So pause the slide and compose your answer. In general, in academic writing, there are three main components to an effective introduction paragraph. The first part, you're going to lead off with a hook. You want to get your reader interested in your essay. So a hook can be a rhetorical question, a startling statistic, a paradoxical statement, unusual fact, a vivid example, an anecdote, an analogy. So your hook, in fact, is the one part of your introduction that can be pretty specific. And again, you can employ the modes of explanation in your hook. The second part of an effective introduction is going to be your background information. So you want to give your reader some context and or history on the topic that you're going to be discussing. Now, again, don't feel that you need to give all the context and all the history, but you do want to orient your reader by giving some background information. Typically, a few sentences is fine for this part of the introduction. And then finally, you're going to end your introduction paragraph with a thesis. Your thesis is a summary statement of your entire essay, and in most cases it will be an argumentative statement, or in an expository essay it will deal with the focus of the essay. Typically, thesis statements are a single sentence, although some thesis statements can be 2 sentences. So to give you an example, a clear example of what an effective introduction for an essay like the one you're working on right now might look like, I've copied a paragraph from a former student's essay, and you'll notice that the hook is italicized, the background information is in plain text, and the thesis is bolded and underlined. Now I'll read the paragraph for you. My favorite high school activity was doodling in my 2-inch ring binder as I was slowly sedated by my elderly teacher's deep monotone voice. In high school, I was the type of student who had more interest in the spaces between his fingernails and the plastic tips on his shoelaces rather than the words of knowledge flowing from the teacher's mouth. If you had asked me what my ideal learning environment was back then, I would have shrugged and said, I don't know. But now that I have matured and have a deeper understanding of the importance of my education, I take this question very seriously. Currently, a snapshot of my ideal learning environment looks like this. In a spacious and modern classroom, diverse students engage in hands-on group projects, which are guided by a knowledgeable and passionate teacher. Here's another example of an effective introduction paragraph. I want you to notice that this hook is a little bit longer, but it is a good one, and it's very specific and it really is unique. "Break!" shouts the staff sergeant, stopping our class. Suddenly, 15 drill instructors come storming into the classroom where we were just learning about military history. "Get up, Boot!" Sergeant Cole screams at me. "Climb!" We begin a grueling set of mountain climbers as the sergeant yells out a count for us to stay in sync, as sweat drips down my face and falls in my eyes. When Sergeant Cole yells, "Stop!" we snap to attention and respond in unison, "Stop! Aye, sir!" He screams for us to get back into class, where the staff sergeant continues his teaching like nothing had happened. This would not be most students' ideal classroom learning environment, but it served its purpose in the Marine Corps. In a college or university environment, however, this kind of shouting and pressure would never be acceptable. For me, any learning environment that isn't like my classes in the Marines is ideal. As a veteran, I feel fortunate to sit in a normal classroom again, engaging in a variety of learning activities, speaking my mind, interacting with my peers, and asking for help without fear of punishment. All of this feels like an ideal learning environment to me. Now that you have a good idea of what an effective introduction should look like for this essay, I want you to take a moment and think about your conclusion paragraph. So pause this slide and describe the function and key elements of a conclusion paragraph. A lot of students think that the conclusion should be a reflection of the introduction and very similar to the introduction. Well, a conclusion should also be a zoomed out aerial snapshot. It should not be an exact reflection of the introduction. In your conclusion, you want to reinforce or expand on your introduction. So you can do this a couple of ways. You can state the larger significance or reflect on the deeper meaning of your essay or your topic. You can offer a proposal, you can make a prediction, or you can give some advice to your reader. All of these are great ways to end. Or you can return to an anecdote, statistic, or example that was presented in the hook or introduction, and then you can further expand on that or clarify it. So the hook and return, if you have a really unique hook in your introduction paragraph, it creates a very nice symmetry. If you return to that hook, you maybe put a little bit of a different spin and you explain the larger significance of your essay to your reader. These are all really effective ways to conclude an essay. So here's a clear and concrete example of what an effective conclusion paragraph might look like for the particular essay that you're working on now. In this essay, I've explained what my ideal learning environment looks like, but this may well change as I continue to grow as a person. One thing that will not change is the importance of character. If you're a person of good character and continue to work hard towards your goals, you will succeed even if your environment is less than ideal. This is why we all must acknowledge that life is about the real, which is usually far from ideal. From school to work to home life, most people do not exist in an ideal environment. But if a person has a good character and a strong work ethic, that person can usually make the real very close to ideal. So you'll notice in this conclusion, it really talks about the larger significance of the topic and how it's about more than just the ideal classroom environment. So this zooms out and gives a deeper sense of meaning to the reader. That's why, in my opinion, it is a very effective conclusion paragraph. Here's another example of what I believe to be an effective conclusion paragraph. We've all been there before. 4 walls, tables and desks, a whiteboard, and a teacher or professor. But what if the ordinary became a breeding ground for the extraordinary? Imagine a diverse set of students with unlimited potential, learning outside the box of a conventional classroom. Our schooling is our platform for the future, so the classroom must become a place of promise instead of one of dread. The solution, in fact, is rather simple. Optimize the classroom itself, the learning material, and the teacher so that every student is given a chance to succeed. It's important that we think deeply about the classrooms where young people spend so much of their time, places where our youth are challenged and developed. In the end, we as a society need to start paying more attention to the classroom environment because education should, ideally, be a great equalizer that effectively prepares all youth, rich and poor, for a future where everyone has a shot at success. So you'll notice in this conclusion paragraph, it does really make a larger social point. So it's connecting the specific topic, which is an ideal learning environment, which may seem kind of bland to some people, and it's making it really significant by talking about how this ideal classroom environment is really tethered to the future of our society. So that's why I think this is an effective conclusion paragraph. I hope this presentation has given you a clearer idea of what an effective introduction and conclusion should look like. So I just want to recap a few things here. In academic essays, you want to lead your reader by forecasting what's to come in your introduction. You're going to give specific support in your body paragraphs, and oftentimes you're going to employ the modes of explanation in your body paragraphs. And then you want to reinforce and expand upon the larger significance of your topic in your conclusion. So remember, your reader does not know your essay nearly as well as you do. That's why it is so important to create a well-structured and a well-flowing essay. I want to also remind you to try to use the card method as you continue to revise and rework this essay. So remember what CARD stands for. The C is connect. You want to connect new points to the big picture of your essay. You do this in your topic sentences. You want to arrange similar paragraphs and sentences side by side. So think about the overall flow of your paragraphs and then think about the flow of your sentences within each body paragraph. And then repeating key words and concepts. You may have noticed the repetition of a key word or concept that smoothly carries one idea from one sentence into the next sentence. And then finally, you want to direct your reader using signal words or those transitional expressions. So for more depth on all of these things, you can review the presentation, the PowerPoint from Structure and Flow that we reviewed earlier. So I want to give you one final reminder here, and this is something that I've mentioned before, but it is really important, especially in an expository essay, that you are unique and specific. There is only one you, and when your reader reads your essay, he or she should not feel like this essay could have been written by any generic person. The reader should get a sense that you are a unique person with unique experiences, and you're coming off the page and you're very vivid to your reader. So really try and get deeper than just those bland general statements about an ideal learning environment, and try to put your own personality and your own flavor into this essay.